I know I made several people millionaires during the NFT season. So what first pulled you into the world of Web3? At what moment did you realize this wasn't just technology, but a movement you wanted to help build?
My path to Web3 was actually unexpected for me. It came from the trying to solve a problem and then seeing new problems and new ways to bring solutions.
What sets digital assets apart from PayPal, Cash App, or bank wires?
What separates digital assets for me is when we talk about like Web3 stuff, it's the ownership component, it's the ability to actually craft and shape it. What digital assets offer is not just a pathway or technology to move assets, but the ability to establish the culture and the economic philosophy of what those assets mean.
Hi everybody, we're back in the studio today and I'm so excited. Today's guest is a true architect of the future. Joe Marie Peterson is a systems and product architect. He is an international public speaker, author, investor, and passionate Web3 innovator who has helped build and co-found protocols valued at over $100 million. He has also facilitated the raising of millions of dollars to support social enterprises and nonprofit initiatives through the Oasis Project, using technology as a catalyst for real-world impact. He currently is a PhD candidate at Carnegie Mellon University in engineering and public policy. And Joe Marie specializes in risk assessment, systems design, and he brings together deep technical expertise, forward-thinking policy insight, purpose-driven innovation. So today we're going to dive right into the future of decentralized technology, the evolution of Web3, and what it really takes to build systems that can change the world. We'll also talk about his powerful new book, Faith and Cryptocurrency, which I absolutely loved reading. It's insightful, eye-opening, and a must-read for anyone exploring the intersection of purpose, technology, finance, and hey, everything. Let's get into it. Joe Marie, talk to us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I'm really excited to have this opportunity. I always love talking about the Web3 space, but technology in general and how it can have impact on lives and how we can use it to better our communities. So any opportunity to talk in this manner, I appreciate. So thank you for the time.
Excited. So what first pulled you into the world of Web3? And at what moment did you realize this wasn't just technology, but a movement you wanted to help build?
Yeah, my path to Web3 was actually unexpected for me. I've always had an interest in the idea of money. When I was in college and undergrad at Howard University, I was actually working on a book at that time talking about money, and I was talking about how fiat money is based on trust, this was in 2007. And so this was before Bitcoin was released. So I would think I would have heard about Bitcoin at that time, but it didn't come across my radar based on my network and people I was around until the movie Dope came out. I heard about it then, but I really understood the Web3 space when I was looking into decentralized voting. I was really interested in bringing a way of people be able to vote online and be able to access information and do like what I called like informed voting, where you can vote on the issues you care about, and then if you don't know about it, you actually delegate it to someone else. I eventually learned that was called liquid democracy, but I was interested in this concept and reached out to various cryptographers about how this could be accomplished via the internet. And I had to reach out to David Chom, who was one of the cryptographers that was referenced in the Bitcoin white paper. So he's one of the cyberpunk fathers. So I reached out to him. He had some ideas about doing randomized voting, stochastic voting using blockchain technology. So I had to look into Ethereum to understand kind of the technology he was talking about and referencing. So looking into that and understanding what the weaknesses and strength of that technology, I really saw the opportunity that people were actually taking the philosophy of what they think money should operate as, what they think internet should operate as, and how values can be moved in that way, and how that could actually not just be a mechanism for voting, but a mechanism for actually changing the way that we operate as a society, that we can create these new financial institutions. So I looked at the weaknesses and what the strengths were, because for voting, you have to make sure that voting is protected, not just for a day or a year, but like for 20 plus years, because what you vote on might matter to people, and people might be mad at you, or you might want to be protected. So you have to keep those things secret. So I was like, what are the risks? And I saw that quantum computing, even though it wasn't immediate, would be a risk within the possible next 20 years because it could actually decrypt different types of signatures. So that's how I ended up being a co-founder of the quantum resistant ledger, to mitigate one of the weaknesses that I saw in the space and in the technology when it came to that particular application. So that was my introduction to the space. It came from the trying to solve a problem and then to seeing new problems and new ways to bring solutions. And that's really what brought me into the Web3 space.
Amazing. I love being in the room with smart people. Makes me feel smarter.
That's funny.
So I love this part of your story. A video game helps spark your understanding of how design impacts everything
Yes.
from neighborhoods to personal happiness. So what was that game and what did it unlock for you?
Yeah, so the game for me was SimCity. SimCity, it was basically like it's a city builder, and they basically like you set residential zones or commercial zones or industrial, and then you have to put up like water towers and do electricity, and then your citizens are either happy by how you design things or not. You have to decide how close these different assets were between each other, between like who gets electricity and when, who gets water, like where residences are, and that gave me a perspective about how important not just the engineering of things are, but also the cultural aspect of things. Like how does it operate and how does it impact the people, and what is the different interplay and dependencies between various critical infrastructure. And that idea is kind of how I went into civil engineering, and also started thinking about just the design in general. It's about how do you create the optimal conditions to accomplish your goals. And that's kind of the mentality that's kind of guided me in my life, about knowing that there's all these different variables that exist in the world, some that are outside of your control, some that are in your control. And how do you optimize and create the situations that would get you your optimum, whether it's a local optimum or a maximum optimum, but get you to the closest peak as possible, given the information that you know. So SimCity, while a video game, was very enlightening and enjoyable for me. Spent hours and hours and days on that game. So
So it's okay to tell the kids to watch SimCity.
Yeah.
I mean, to play SimCity.
No, absolutely. SimCity, there's certain games I encourage. SimCity, Civilization, turn-based games, strategy-based games. I think they have a strong ability to make people not just open up their minds, but also think about problems differently. I know, for example, Vitalik was a big StarCraft player. And people people that play chess, you often hear about them. It's basically that ability to look at a situation from different angles, to consider your opponent, whether it's another person, an AI, or just the situation, and work through that and be able to process it. It's just a strong skill set to develop, and it's in gaming.
Okay, well, so I'll tell my nieces and nephews they're okay playing SimCity.
Yes.
You know, they can be smarter.
No, that's a SimCity. Okay.
Good. So you helped launch Engineers Without Borders, right? The chapter that eventually took you all the way to my birth country of Kenya.
Yes.
Beautiful Kenya. What did that experience teach you?
No,
not just as an engineer, but as a global citizen.
No, it was fantastic for me. It was my first time going to Kenya. We was in the Nandi Hills, and
oh wow,
yes. So for me, first of all, like I was in college, so I was a graduate student. I just finished civil engineering undergrad, and I was in my MBA program. And going there was because I was trying to find a way of contributing to others, to putting my academic knowledge to work, even though I wasn't necessarily working at a profession yet. So that was a mechanism for me to be active and be a practitioner of the things that I learned, because I always wanted to be a contributor to the world and to improving it. And basically with Engineers Without Borders, we created the chapter on Howard. We might have been the first HBCU to actually have an Engineering Without Borders program. And going to Kenya specifically for me was opportunity to see people who look like me, but developing inside of a space where they always see people that look like themselves. I grew up in California. So in California, it's like 25, well, my area is 25, 25, 25, like 25% Asian to 25% Black, 25% white, 25% Hispanic, right? So I was used to like an immense diversity, seeing lots of different people, but just culturally, I want to see what it looks like to not have some of the pressures that come from looking and having my cultural background that I do in America. So for me, it was important for that, and also to be able to contribute back. But being there, I learned that despite all my academic knowledge, there's a big chasm between what you learn academically and what's practically appropriate for an area. So I was really humbled during my time there, because I'm coming here with these engineering plans, and then I'm out there and they're building a new school, and I see the guy working and building it, and then I'm trying my hand at helping out. And I'm terrible, because this is not somebody practice. Is not. I'm like saying I can't help you. Like, and I just came to this realization that I'm coming here try to bring help and thinking I'm bringing something new, when they already have the capacity to do the work for themselves. That they just needed the resources that they need. And that was kind of like one of my big lessons for me, was how I became to rethink how I looked at like kind of mission trips. It's like a lot of times those communities already have the appropriate technologies, are able to develop the appropriate technologies for their needs, and they don't need me flying out there necessarily to help them. They just need the resources, and sometimes you might need the support to work through it. But it just changed the way that I thought about helping, and about how do I just bring systems that are helpful to people, and how do I provide them the context that they need, but also knowing that it needs to be appropriate to each culture, to each person, each community, because they have their own ways of operating, and it's necessary to honor those things as well. So that was kind of my experience there. I don't know if I answered the question directly, but
Yes, you did. You get me in more than, yeah. Every time you talk about home, I just love that. I love what I'm a product of a country. Now they're calling Kenya the next Silicon Valley.
Okay.
I mean, the Silicon Valley of Africa, not the next one. The next one is Austin.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So.
And I know for being there also, one thing that I loved, it's for me to about faith, the community we was in, like they had a school, and it was basically Pastor John Sandy, who's the pastor, and also the person that organizers, being out there and seeing the resilience and the commitment to their faith in the space, and the way that he was bringing together people to accomplish the goals there was really inspiring for me. It was, and we had some really very distinct experiences. Like, we ended up, one of the people that was working with us, his mother ended up passing while I was there, because like basically on the street somebody hit her with a car, because I guess there's not enough lights on there, and we ended up singing at the funeral, like, and basically a song about God's love. And seeing their faith in the midst of that, in the midst of tragedy, and their commitment to the work towards bettering their community, even in the midst of that type of thing, meant a lot to me. So I don't know why I decided to mention that, but it was something that that meant a lot to me.
Wow, that was impactful. That was impactful. Yeah. So let's talk about digital assets. So what sets digital assets apart from PayPal, Cash App, or bank wires?
Yeah. So what separates digital assets for me is, when we're talking about like Web3 stuff, it's the ownership component, is the ability to actually craft and shape it for your needs. So the thing I always talk about with Bitcoin, for me at least, Bitcoin is special and interesting because it was an implementation that was based on economic philosophy. It was like, people believe that, hey, money shouldn't just, the amount of money that exists in the world shouldn't keep rising. And that makes money weak. So they've said, okay, how do we create an asset that's scarce, that has a limit on how much will ever exist, and that will make it hard money, that'll make it more valuable because we know it's scarce. It's like I said, like gold is scarce on this earth, like there's only so much of it, and the accessibility makes it valuable. So how can we reflect that inside of a digital way that you know that this value is scarce and you can prove it, and therefore that can be something that you pin your value attributions to. And that was one economic philosophy. What digital assets offer is not just a pathway or technology to move assets, but the ability to establish the culture and the economic philosophy of what those assets mean. So you can say, hey, I want to create a digital asset where there's no interest. Like, so therefore, like lending, you can lend money to somebody, but you can't charge interest on it. And you can actually encode that in the rule of that asset. So that would reflect like people in the Muslim faith, people in the Jewish faith, Christians like have the usury in the Bible as well. So you have the ability to actually enforce these philosophies that, whether cultural or economic, into them, and that separates it out from just a pathway for moving value, which is what Cash App, and PayPal provide. They allow you to send an asset from A to B, which is great. but you can't define what that asset means and what the representation of that value is. And that's what's powerful to me about digital assets. We can redefine what value means for our communities and for ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I love that about digital assets. That's what drew me in, after being in banking for close to 20 years.
Yes.
I was so focused on finding out how I can just make something out of this new money, this digital assets. That was amazing. And DeFi especially just brought me to making myself a founder, and not only being a founder, but being able to help other people. Because you can be a founder just to be a founder, but if you can also bring other people in and tell them this is a way to, with the NFT season, we won the NFT season back, by the way. We were able to make other people rich. I made several people millionaires during the NFT season.
Yes, I believe.
And DeFi, even though down, it still will come back. But yeah, as a DeFi strategist, you tell us you co-founded a project on Avalanche that produced about 300 million in assets under your system. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so that was establishing Snowball. So Snowball was the first DAO, decentralized autonomous organization on Avalanche. Avalanche is a separate network. So basically, if Bitcoin is the first digital asset that was created, then they created Ethereum. Ethereum was meant to be like this world computer, or basically a decentralized kind of computer where you kind of can put applications on top of it. Avalanche was a new network that was kind of putting together multiple cities of all these networks together. So I went over there. I was one of the first users of that platform, and I created Snowball. And by being early, I was able to start connecting to the various platforms and protocols that were building there as well. So basically, we would, if something was generating income, we would plug into it and provide you the mechanism for maximizing your returns or your yield. So let's say that they're giving you 10% yield. We would then take whatever yield you're getting and then reinvest it back immediately, daily. So you get that compounding effect. So that was a service that people appreciated. And we basically connected to maybe 15 to 16 different protocols over the first year or two. And under that, we have the 300 million in assets under management, which included also the stable swap that we created to be able to support the movement of stable coins, which are basically coins that have equivalent value to the US dollar. So people utilize that a lot on chain as a way of kind of having a value that they understand they can connect with, and a way of entering and exit the space with a little bit more stability and mitigating their risk. So we provided mechanisms for that as well.
Oh, that's so nice. Avalanche slowly became one of my best blockchains.
Yeah. No, from the technical perspective, Avalanche is definitely in my top 3 for sure. They have a very strong mechanism for how they do their consensus mechanisms. That they use this system called Snowball, which is I think why I named our thing Snowball. And it's basically different from what Bitcoin uses, because Bitcoin uses proof of work, which is basically a process of the energy expended to solve problems, to mitigate people doing fake transactions. And for them, it's closer to a communication gossip protocol where we basically sending out the signals that people have to come to agreement in a quick manner. And that was cool. And the ability to connect other networks to it is very cool. And they have leadership that was very academically oriented and pushing the space forward. So I just really trusted the foundation of what they were building. I'm also a big fan of Move recently, of the Move language, which is their attempt to create a more secure and safer language for smart contracts. So
is that the ones? Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, because Avalanche, funny enough, is designed so they can support anything like that, actually. So because you have the ability to extend Avalanche to have various networks connected, you can actually create a Move network on Avalanche or a Tezos network on Avalanche. So Avalanche is really that kind of blockchain to blockchain type of technology, similar to what Cosmos does, except for with, I think, a better technology.
Oh, wow. So Move is the Sui blockchain. They use Sui does that, and Aptos, right?
Yes,
They use that.
correct.
The
Aptos,
language.
Sui, and the Move network. So basically, Move was created when Facebook was working on Libra on the Diem project, and so they in that process that they created the Move language, but because of all the regulatory oversight and kind of controversy, they shuttered the project. But the work continued forward, and those resulted in Sui as one implementation and Aptos as the other, and then there was Movement, which used the Move language to actually use that as the basis of their name. But Aptos and Sui were the first one with two slightly different tweaks to how the Move language works. But those were the first two that really moved forward. It's funny, once you say move, you start repeating that particular word over and over again, so it gets redundant. But anyways, they progressed the space using that.
They did. Yeah, we worked with the Sui team at the beginning. We were part of their marketing
Oh, nice
team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I met I was invited to their investors meeting when they were just discussing. I think they had just split up because, Sui and Aptos were together when they left Facebook. It was one, and I think they split.
Yes. So I don't know a lot of their backstory, but I can definitely tell that there's a very distinct community, but between those two, that they have very different target markets.
Yes, they do. They do. So tell us about, which I love talking about, fractionalized assets.
Yeah.
And it's new. So they're opening new doors in finance and ownership. And if you can please simplify the concept for our audience and share where you see the biggest wealth building opportunities emerging.
Yeah, so fractionalized ownership has always existed in some way or another. Basically, when families came together and then bought a house together, and they all own a piece of it, that was fractionalized ownership. But what's happening with digital assets is now we're able to kind of scale that out to allow more people to participate in and have that representation of that ownership, like inside something that's more easily tradable. Because like if me and my cousins come together and buy some property, it becomes entrenched in a lot more paperwork, and the expression of that ownership is typically on paper or inside somebody else's database. But with digital assets, like when you run it on Ethereum or Arbitrum or Base, Avalanche, I'm named blockchain, so I'm not specific to anybody in this case. But when you run it on these networks, you're able to actually represent that value as a tokenized asset, and then you can essentially trade those to permission parties at will. So you can have more efficient movement and also price discovery. So if you buy something and you say, okay, hey, price is going up and I kind of want to exit this property, you can sell it, or you want to get into something that you're interested, you can buy it. So they're doing that for assets ranging from housing property to deeds to cars to art. Like I've participated in a few that actually fractionalize ownership of art. So if you wanted to get your hands on like a Van Gogh, you might say, I can't buy a whole Van Gogh, but I'll buy a piece of a Van Gogh, right? So provide that part. But for me, fractional ownership became interesting because while a lot of the more capital people with more capital were participating in this space, I saw it as very powerful for those who have like smaller amounts of income to be able to basically fractionalize the buyback of their communities. To opportunity zones in the United States is a big thing that don't get talked a lot about, but it provides a way for people to mitigate their capital gains so they can invest essentially inside developing communities and then get a deferment on their taxes. So that means the communities then can actually leverage that if they do it like a fractional to actually get the income that they need to develop their areas, right? So for me, I thought fractional ownership could be a way for them to participate in that buyback of communities, to fractionally buy a house or buy a block and renovate it, and then allow people who might even live in the house already to still own a piece of their house and stay in it. But now that redevelopment cost is actually being amortized or divided between everybody, so everybody can benefit from the increase in value. So that's kind of one of the ideas of fractional ownership, of why I find it interesting, because it can actually change the way that we think around how assets move and how we think about ownership. So now instead of just going to a bank, we can be the bank to each other and provide new opportunities and new systems.
Yeah, I love how you talked about it, and I'm comparing it to tokenization.
Yeah. Wait, please.
Real estate tokenization.
Yes.
It's more or less the same thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because most people don't know that even though the institutions are making a big deal about it,
yes,
like you say, it's always been there.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's just now being done on the blockchain.
Absolutely. Like I think there's, I mean, and not to talk about other people's problem, but I think I keep seeing ads for a thing called I think I don't know what it's name, but I keep seeing ads for like $100, but buy it into these rentals, and you could be part of ownership, right? And that's not on blockchain. That's just legal paperwork, and then you're buying into a cooperative that's a part of owning this asset, and when income comes in, you get a piece of it. Crowdfunding has existed for a while. They've formalized new rules around it, but these things exist. What changes is the ability to access them and how we can design them to better meet our needs. So that's what Web3 is about for me. It's the ownership aspect of our systems. It's the redefining of systems to meet our specific community, our specific values in a way that was difficult when we was relying on the existing institutions that don't care about us.
Yes, yes. Wow. So let me ask you this. Your book, Faith and Cryptocurrency,
Yes.
right? It reminded me that, my pastor is building a future Goshen, right?
Okay.
Or not building he has envisioned Goshen,
Okay.
a community just like you described
Yes.
in your book. And eventually I'll introduce you to him.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
What I was gonna say is this: if we can have like a prototype, it would this community that he has envisioned would really be the way you've described it in your book.
Yeah.
So what do you tell churches about this new technology and how they can, take advantage of it?
Yes. So the first thing I tell them is we are in a modern world, and we have a faith that doesn't care about what age it is. Our faith that doesn't change. The God that you serve in most cases that doesn't change. Like there's other religions where God might change, but not the ones I'm in, right? So God doesn't change. So then how do you, in this new age, how do you express your faith in a world that is changing? How do you mitigate like the risk and the downfalls that you've seen? Like people have seen like pastors steal money. People have seen deacons steal money. People have seen people have gold and flying on private jets while their members have very little, right? People have seen like lots of money donated and they don't know where it ends up. And then church hurt gets created through this. People have skepticism. So how do you mitigate and create a new narrative in the midst of people becoming afraid and concerned and worried and skeptical? And I tell them these technologies are a way to mitigate those fears. You can have a new level of transparency. You can have a new level of engagement and incentivize behaviors you care about. You can create a better narrative about the world, and you can better reflect the initial church that for Christians, at least the Acts 2 church, which
Acts 2, yeah.
Yeah, and they like said in that community, they said everybody gave up their property, no one had need. And the church was added to daily. And it was effective because if you're solving the problems in people's lives, not just spiritual, but their actual day-to-day like food, clothing, housing issues, well, that's attractive. That brings people in the door. So how do you position our culture and our communities to better meet those needs? And I tell them these technologies can help that, not because just buying it and the number goes up, but because you can actually like design around the values you care about. You can create, for example, I'm a fan of time dollar systems, where basically in a community, you can say, hey, if I'm babysitting you, I earn a time dollar, and I can use that time dollar for you to cook for me, right? And it's basically an hour of service is worth an hour of redemption. And that creates a system where even if we don't have any like cash, we can actually use the asset that we do have, which is our time and our skills, to be able to create value within our community and share that value. So while we might not have velocity of typical money, we can have velocity of value. And then in doing that, we're creating value within us, and that becomes attractive. Because now people say, oh man, these people are taking care of each other's needs. These people have a system that works, and I want to be a part of that. And that's the narrative I'm telling people. You can create a system that reflects your community, your needs, the unique things that make your body special. And if you really go all in on that, that's will attract people. That will be the light that draws people in, because people talk about being a light, right? And don't cover your light. So you have to create the light. You have to create the conditions so people can see your light. And that's what I believe these tools allow people to create the context for miracles. So.
Yes, yes. And let me show people that this is the book. This is the book, y'all. Go get it.
Yes, please do.
If you're a believer and you love technology, even you don't even have to like love technology. You just want to know the future of, cryptocurrency. Because now everybody's going to be using crypto before they all know it.
Yes.
The Clarity Act is going to be implemented here very soon.
Yes. No, I mean, the reality is cryptocurrency is a tool. Just like AI is a tool, just like the internet is a tool. So how we utilize that tool is what matters. So, and I like to talk about the fact that the Christians and religion groups have always leveraged technology to further their reach. The Gutenberg press was used to facilitate the printing of Bibles, which became more accessible, which raised literacy. Like the radio, you then had televangelists, which allowed out their words to go into communities that weren't necessarily able to gather up, which created a big revitalization. These tools must be leveraged if you want to reach people. And we have new technologies that are being created that are around that we need to leverage to the benefit of our communities and to each other. So.
Yeah, speaking about the printing press, when it arrived, it brought about reformation. So what kind of reformation do you envision with decentralized technologies?
Yeah, for me, I believe that with these technologies, we can make a return back to what our original values and principles are. Because it's difficult within the world we live in now to imagine, because especially in America, we're very individualistic. We're focused on our individual liberties, our powers to make choices for ourselves. But there is something in faith about choosing to collaborate, choosing to work together, sharing of resources. And it's difficult in our existing infrastructure because it's not designed to support community. It is designed to support the greed and profit maximization of the individual. So these technologies allow us to reform the way we interact with each other, to create society, to create systems that more are in alignment with where we want to be. So we can actually create a system where we all put money into the pot and it's already allocated to make sure it covers everybody's rent first, and then it gets divided between everybody. Are allocated to say, okay, hey, you get what you put in, but then we're going to take 10%, and that's going to go to the benevolence fund, which we'll vote on periodically. Or everybody has this X allotment of funds that they can access monthly, and if it goes over, and then we'll talk about it. We can design something at scale that allows us to facilitate a different system that's filled with more dignity, but also more opportunity and more ability to have an impact. And like I said, always, if you do these things, I think it'll be attractive to others, because they'll see that something outside of what this world has created is powerful and is changing lives. And I think that's what my point is. We have to design systems that the world isn't going to design, because that will then differentiate us from everything else.
Yes, I love that. So lastly, I know you're obviously working on your PhD, at Carnegie Mellon. And what are you currently working on in technology? Are you in AI? Are you in both? Are you?
Yeah. So most recently, I've been working on building out a civic tech platform that kind of it does express some of the concepts I talk about in faith and cryptocurrency. I'm basically creating various modules that communities can adopt and then leverage. So I built a time dollar banking module. I built a governance module so they can basically be able to allocate our budget funds and have people vote on it with different rules. I have the fractional ownership part built out. And next I'm working working on a module to provide basically rotating saving credits. So basically, like if you're in a community, you can say, okay, everybody puts up $100 a month, and then every month one person gets the pot, and that allows then everybody to kind of get this like lump sum that allows them to do like an investment or a big thing they wouldn't be able to do normally. But by rotating that, everybody gets access to the ability to basically have this capital infusion at a moment that they might need it most. So designing some different platforms and some different modules to support communities to come together and kind of meet their needs that are specific to them. So I've been working on that, and I also do supportive work. I have a platform called Podium, which is basically a social audio platform. Been working and supporting that because I want to have conversations like this with people live. And what happens is basically people who are listening can thumbs it up or thumbs down, and they kind of make people kind of shut up. It's kind of like Showtime at the Apollo. Like, you know how Showtime at the Apollo, people dance and sing. And if you like what they're saying, you can boo them, you can cheer them, they keep going. You boo that they get pulled off the stage. I built a platform that kind of provides that same type of experience. And that's still connected with Web3 as well. So I'm building out things I think are fun, that are interesting, that have innovative aspects to kind of show how we can rethink systems with these technologies and provide more interesting experiences.
Wow. So in other words, what I hear, you're building a lot of, so the first one that caught my attention is the mobile, the digital we used to call it merry-go-round.
Yes.
Back home, they call it merry-go-round, in the diaspora, where, this week I get the pot, and next week, someone else. And
this stuff has always existed. This stuff existed already.
It has always existed.
Right. It's just
a very good way of, buying something that you've been saving to buy for years.
Exactly. And it's very powerful and it's effective, and we know it works, but the system, the world isn't going to build it for us.
They won't.
Yes.
The institutions are, and the BlackRocks are about them.
Yes.
Yes. So, and then I do like the audio one.
Yes.
It's kind of reminding me, what did we have in 2020 during COVID?
Clubhouse.
Yes, Clubhouse. Is it like Clubhouse?
Yes. So yes, it's like Clubhouse, except for where Clubhouse was kind of you just talking to anybody on stage. You had no control. The only person who had control was the facilitator, was the host.
Yes.
But otherwise, you just had to sit there and listen. Podium is designed around the idea of empowerment. Your attention matters, and you want the content you want. So if somebody's talking and they're not making any sense, or they're just yammering, you might want to shut them up. So you can boo them off the stage. And I think that that creates, I think, a very fun, engaging way of actually valuing attention.
That is so funny. Yeah, I'm paying attention to what you're building. When you build something, we gotta be on the lookout. So tell me, where do you see Bitcoin going from here?
Yeah, so
Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, so I think just from the core idea of what Bitcoin is as philosophy, it's not going anywhere. The philosophy, the economic principles behind it are very strong, and it's a very strong mechanism for accruing wealth for those who already have Bitcoin. So those who have wealth of that do not want to see it fade away. So they will keep reinvesting and supporting it. Like, yes, there's going to be fluctuations, but there's fluctuation in the entire market. And it's a little bit more volatile because of the nature of what it is, and it's not fully integrated into our existing institutions at that level. But I don't think it's just going anywhere.
It's never going anywhere.
Right. So and for Ethereum still serves a vital core piece, I believe, in kind of unifying platform specific applications. And what I mean is, whereas Bitcoin is a specific digital asset, Bitcoin's network is about Bitcoin. Ethereum's network isn't about ETH. Ethereum's network is about how do you serve applications that people can use to move value around and keep records of these things. And that idea has launched a lot of other networks, but at the end of the day, Ethereum was where a lot of that initial value started at, and they're continually pushing to update and edit what they're doing. So I think there's going to be more competition, but I think at the end of the day, they're still going to maintain their relevance for the fact that they are where those initial core assets were, and they have brought down the cost of operation down tremendously. And I think that they're going to keep doing that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yes, I have investors waiting for the DeFi space to pick back up. Like, what's going on? Like, things gotta hurry up.
No, yeah, and that's the thing. So for me, though, I try not to talk about price of assets, but what the assets mean and how they leverage them, and from that
Yes.
people can determine the values that match them. Because like here's the reality: I tell people you could actually create a no name network, and it could probably be the most valuable network for you if it's meeting the needs of your community, right? So,
Yes.
and that's why I want people to remember. It's like there's big names and there's small names, but what matters most to you is the values that you have and how you want to express them.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, I am so glad you joined me in my studio today.
Absolutely.
I'm
glad to be here.
Yes, yes, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And guys, go get this book. It's interesting, and you can start building communities.
Yes.
And communities right now in the AI age are so much needed.
Yes.
Everybody is needing communities.
Yes.
So if this book can help help you, bring you to a community that you'd like,
Yes.
hey, go for it. Go for it. So any last words and where to find you?
Yes. I can be found on Twitter, Jamari _P, JOMARI _P. Sadly, I wasn't the first one with my name to jump on Twitter. So I have the extra part. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Facebook under Jamari. Feel free to reach out. You can send me emails, jamari.peterson@hajmedia.com, HAJJMEDIA.com. And I would love to be assets to others to help you build and create a world that's more like the kingdom of heaven. So
yes,
I hope this benefits others.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and God bless, and we'll talk soon.